Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is Emilia Maisterrena, VP of Sales and Marketing here at Keylingo, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Virginia Careto. Hi, Vir.
Hi, Emmy. Hi, everyone there. How are you? How are you, Emmy?
Doing good. Very excited. Hello, audience, people from all over the world. Welcome to Trend Talks. This is episode number 3 from this fantastic series that we basically try to interview different influential voices in our industry and go into different trending topics. So in the past 2 episodes, we had 2 great guests. One was Ishvan from Be Lazy, and we had this conversation about automations and well, it was great. And then we had an episode with Diego Cresceri from Creative Words, and we discussed the impact of AI in our industry and, well, all the crises and opportunities that this is bringing. So I invite you to look for these episodes in our Keylingo website under the resources section. You can find it, and also you can find other series that we did in the past. So before we start, I'd like to mention that today we were supposed to be joined by our CEO, Frederick Marx. He cannot attend because he has some personal detail things that are very important and that require his attention. But the good part is that we have our VP of Operations joining us today. Vir, would you like to share a little bit more about you?
Of course. First, thank you so much for your invitation today. Personally, for me, it's always a pleasure to participate in these events at the audience side and also here, because I always feel I left these meetings feeling inspired, motivated. I love them so much. So it's a pleasure for me to be here today. So thank you, Emmy. Hi, everyone there. As Emmy mentioned, I'm VP of Operations at Keylingo. I'm also an English translator. I have been working in the language industry for 10 years now. I come from a family that is very passionate about languages. Most of them are teachers and translators. You know them well, Emmy. So you know that I have been immersed in this field since childhood. So it's very natural for me to be part of this. And what I love the most about working in the language industry is that we help people connect, we bridge cultural gaps, and we also have an important role in fostering integration and closeness, because it is from our jobs that we allow information to spread worldwide. So I believe that it's very important from time to time to think about how incredibly rewarding it is to know that what we do every day has such a meaningful impact in society. I wanted to remind that because I know that the vast majority of people here work in the language industry. So I wanted to remind you all about it. And I'm based in Córdoba, Argentina. The day is very cloudy today, so it's very nice for me to be today in this event. And well, I'm curious to know, where are you joining us from today? You can comment in the chat. I've seen some messages already. We have people from Valencia, from Belarus, from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Where are you from, Emmy? And where are you now?
Yeah, so I'm from Argentina as well. I'm from Cordoba. I've been living in Italy for the past year First in northern Italy, and now I'm living in a very beautiful island that is called Sardinia.
Amazing.
Okay, yeah, so I see some comments from the chats. Fantastic. And I have a question for you before we start. Which
Oh
generation
my
are you?
God.
So we can start with the topic a little
Wow.
bit.
I believe that I'm millennial. And you?
Awesome. Well, I'm kind of in the middle because I was born in the year that it changes from millennial to Gen Z, and I think
Hmm.
I have a little bit of both words. And here you can see a poll. We'd like to know from the audience, people out there, which generation are you? Which generation do you belong to? So please scan the QR code, and join us in the conversation.
And
Uh,
sometimes you may also think about which generation do you feel you are from? Do you
yeah,
belong to?
yeah. Exactly. So now I think we can start introducing Mario, our guest from today. Mario is a professional that has around 10 years of experience in the localization industry. Right now, he's working from 9 to 5 as a localization manager at Personio. And after 5, he's a career and life coach, and he's guiding a lot of professionals in tech to find their career. And I'm sure he's also improving a lot of lives. So, welcome, Mario, to the show.
Hello. Hi, Emmy.
Hi,
Hi, Beer, and
Maria.
everybody. It's fantastic to be here. I just want to thank you so much. And yeah, I'm very humbled. I'm very honored to be here and talk to you about localization and, a little bit of career coaching and purpose and different generations and all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for
That's
having me.
awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. So, that's a great background, but could you tell us where are you from and where are you located?
Yeah, of course. I have to show off a little bit of Ireland. This is where I'm based in Dublin. I grew up in Germany. You can probably tell I'm not Irish. I have an Italian first name. I have a Polish last name. People do get confused with that, and it's sort of a typical localization industry story, isn't it? That we have sort of that multicultural background. I've lived in London for a few years, and now I'm based in Dublin. But yeah, I grew up in Germany. So trying to preserve that feel of the mountains kind of always nearby. I grew up looking at the Alps, and now Ireland has a little bit of the mountains are definitely smaller. Let's put it this way.
That's awesome. So, a story for the audience to understand a little bit more the background. I actually met Mario in Dublin last June. We met in the context of the Lockwork conference. Oh, here we have a picture. This is with Carolina as well. So we met in this after party that was organized by the Lock Lunch community. And well, the three of us together with Caro, we met and we started sharing some beers and some very, very interesting conversations. And well, the connection was fantastic. So I think we went until 3 in the morning talking and we couldn't stop.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually wearing the same shirt, so it is in my good times and connecting with people shirt it seems. So yeah, no, I'm honestly I get goosebumps just thinking about that, just the connection. And you live in Sardinia. I used to go there as a child with my dad, my family. So it's I have that connection to Italy myself, and it was just crazy how we met, and now we hopefully have a lot in common, and we have a friendship growing with that as well. So thank you again for approaching me to come on your show today.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And I think that's the very interesting part of our industry, like the networking and the connections that you can make with people from all over the world. And I think we all kind of have things that are very similar. We can be very different people, but there are some things that we kind of share. You can see here Mario's LinkedIn profile. You can scan this score or QR code or just type his name, and you can find more about what he does. So I think before we actually start with the conversation for today, that is mainly about career purpose, we'd like to know more about your story. Like if people go to your LinkedIn profile, would you add some extra comments so we can understand the whole package?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Again, I grew up in Germany. I'm based in Dublin. I guess I'm a localizer by day. You said that. I've come to coaching and as a way to just explore, a skill set that I always knew I had, which was working with people and connecting very closely with people. So starting at the beginning, which is my university, I have 2 degrees in linguistics, and I always had really good grades, and I was really enjoying that academic work with languages and studying vowels. Like, you wouldn't believe the stuff that I went like deep on. And then I knew after university, no idea what to do with all that. So in terms of career guidance, I never had much myself, and I felt I was just lost and I didn't know what to do with all of that knowledge that I had. So I moved to London. I found a job at a startup, and both in terms of the early stage startup and the location, it was a bit random. It wasn't something I had planned. So I fell into that role, and I was working there for Memrise, which is a language learning startup. And I then came to localization a couple of years later, and a lot of us, we fall into our role in the industry because we may we're good at languages, or we are translating backgrounds. And for me, it was the same thing. But I always knew I had other skills that I couldn't use as a localization manager, because that job tends to be very, metric focused. It's a business role, it's a technical role, and projects. It's. I don't want to say it's dry, but I'm missing the element of impacting the people. So I just, I come from a quite a modest background. I always knew I wanted more. I'm quite ambitious, and I couldn't use my special skills in my day role. So I'm also an English teacher. I explored doing that for a while. I didn't pursue anything further, but I also have a CELTA English teaching degree. And then I basically, I guess I've been working in localization for nearly 10 years and different roles and all of that. I suppose in terms of my, a turning point, this may sound cliche, but that's when it really clicked for me, when my dad passed away a couple of years ago, and I was laid off from my role at a tech company. And I just felt like I have to reassess everything, right, and reflect. And so I booked my first solo trip as an adult, and it was really scary. The night before, I couldn't sleep. I was just really anxious, and I was going to fly to Porto in Portugal, and then went into this hostel and met a few other people to be alone. And I actually wasn't alone the entire week. So there's also that moral of open up and outside your comfort zone. I went to a bar, and within 5 minutes, someone approached me, and there was a huge group of locals that I then, get to hang out with. I met a bunch of people that way, and it reminded me of life in university. That you go to campus and you meet other people, and you're not alone at all. So that was a huge thing for me. And I started working with a coach around that time, end of 2022. And we just explored all of the things that I'm doing with clients now, which is, what is it that I want to do? What am I good at? What skills can I use? Or what transferable skills do I have? So this was like a business and strength coach. Her name is B, and it was just fantastic. So I figured out that I have these skills that coaches need, which is listening, empathy, connecting deeply with people, and I wanted to use them more. So I started my coaching course with Kingston College. I finished about this time last year, and I've now been able to work with people, and I'm just really honored that I get to help people explore their careers, meaning, their purpose, and find a job they love, because we spend about 80 to 90,000 hours of our lives at work. That is a lifetime. I mean, that is incredible. So why don't we make it something that we love? I mean, wasting your time 40, 50, 60 hours every day, or every week, sorry, with something that you don't enjoy, to me, that doesn't make sense. So that's why I love working with people and just asking these questions and helping people explore what they want to do.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that information. This is not the first time that I listen to this story, but it's fascinating to know how you evolved throughout the years. And let me ask you the question: Which generation are you? That's an easy one.
Yeah, for me, it would be millennial. And there is that. I heard the term geriatric millennial the other day. I thought that was really funny. Like, I am roughly, I guess I'm not quite at the midlife crisis point, but I am at a point where, and I reflect a lot with friends on this, is the first 30, so I'm 35. So the first 35 years, if I live 70 years, I'm at the halfway point. But then what we sometimes forget is the next 35 years is without a lot of the painful years that we had growing up. So there's a lot of life left for us, to look forward to. And millennials, we have that extra need to explore like our purpose and ask these questions and want something more from our job that maybe our parents don't necessarily understand, or at least we have a different lens on everything. So
Yeah, totally. So let's see if we have the results from the audience, because we did a quick poll. Okay, let's see. We have 13% Gen X, 75% millennials. This is good because with the three of us, we are kind of millennials. And then we have 13% Gen Z. That's also fantastic. We're going to miss Frederick to bring the Gen X perspective, but well, we'll try to do something different. Okay, awesome. Let's go a little bit more into the first theme for today's event. You have shared these milestones in your career and how you evolved over time. And I guess the concept of career purpose also evolved over time. Would you tell us how was this for you? And how is it today also?
yeah, when you do a bit of research, you hear purpose all the time, right? It's that big thing that we. It's almost like a holy grail. I'm reshifting my perspective on it because I've always been chasing that. I always felt it's a thing. I get up in the morning and I go on this quest to find like a thing, like behind a door, and then I found it, and then we live happily ever after. You know what I mean? So, first of all, I think we may have to reshift the finding your purpose to something more like meaning, something that is easier to find. It's not this big thing, the purpose that is like a holy grail. And once you have it at the end of the rainbow, you go, you get it, and you're happy. So that this is a big shift that I'm seeing in the research and career and recruiting and all of that is, let's maybe move away from that and reframe to something more like the concept of meaning. What can you do even in your current role to attach a bit more meaning to it and make it just more meaningful to you? So I think how it has evolved over time for me is I always had that theme of languages and cultures and communication. But now there's that deeper sense of even psychology, like the coaching is really getting to the bottom of things, asking deep questions that in my daily job I wouldn't necessarily ask, and no one would ask me. So I think it's also just evolved that I have time to find it. I don't need to panic. I don't need to run after my purpose and I only have so many years. Like, it's something that will probably always evolve a little bit, but there might be a current theme. The theme might be to help people. Like, I love to connect with people and help people and get something back in return. And that is the general theme. And that has always been the same for me. So that might be my purpose. And now I'm molding that a bit to say, I have skills I can use. So what else can I do with it? If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very interesting, and I agree with you that it's not like the career purpose is not like a goal. It's something that you can find every single day. And I was reflecting also on my personal story, and I think at the beginning of our careers, it's not easy to be conscious about it. Like, you just, everything is new, and you're exploring yourself and the world and your teammates. So I think when you start growing, you can be more conscious of what you like in your life and what's good for you, and well, try to align your career with that. Because, as you said, we spend most of our lives working, so it should mean something. It should be meaningful.
I think also the values you touch upon that is interesting is, for me, I probably have valued money more than most things for the first couple of years of my career. I thought the goal was you come out of university, you don't really have money as a student, so the goal becomes to make money, to make lots of money. And our whole society, everything is shaped around money. We talk about the cost of living crisis, especially in tech in Dublin. I mean, people make good money, but also the cost of living here is through the roof. And everywhere where you are, joining us from today, I'm sure it's the same. So money is hugely important. But if you follow the money only, you're probably gonna have an empty job. You feel empty because it's not, for me at least. If you value money, then you work in finance or whatever, you work your way up and you make a lot of money. And if that's what you value, for me, that has hugely changed with the personal stories that I mentioned, losing people in the family, you really reshift your focus and you go, and life is so short. The money is going to be gone at the end of my life. Nothing will be left. Maybe I will, hand it down if I have children. But I'm saying the material things don't last. But if I know that I've done something I enjoy and maybe I've helped a few people along the way, that's what I value, is to have that meaning or extra higher purpose, if you will. That's also how I've refocused a little bit my attention. And the less I think about money now, actually, the better I find I am doing financially, because I'm
Yeah.
following the right thing and not the wrong thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. And I'm thinking that maybe there are people in the audience that they think that they just value money, and I think that can be an option. But what about when you cannot understand what is meaningful for you? Like when you don't know what's your purpose and you don't know how to find it. Do you have any tips or guidance to share from your experience on that?
Yeah, there's plenty of tools that we explore in coaching sessions, where if someone comes in and says, I think if you end up wanting to work with a coach, you already know roughly that you value something, or maybe the lack of something in your life, right? So say you come to coaching because something is wrong, there's a problem you want to solve. So that already tells you a lot about what you value, because you are like a status quo, like an analysis of where you are. So I think it's just asking questions. It's assessing things like, when's the last time you were happy? It could be a moment in your week that you noticed, I'm smiling. That's where it starts. It starts with that kind of small things, and you work your way up from there. It's things like, in your career, does your work allow you to do something that matters to you or others in some ways? Do you get to do something you're good at? If you're really crap at your job, you're probably not going to enjoy doing it, right? So it's also, do I enjoy it? Where am I right now? There's a tool called the Wheel of Life, which is a tool that I do at the beginning of each session, which is assessing your life based on the different areas: finance, family, career, health, and so on. And we will score it between 0 and 10, and then connect the dots to make like a wheel. So if the wheel is, say one area is 3 out of 10, the other one is 9 out of 10, there's that jump. So it means if you connect all the dots, your wheel is not going to be very smooth and very round. So now you might say, this is your starting point. If you score very low on your health, what can you do to change that? For me, the focus is career coaching, but say a lot of times we touch upon other things as well. You can have the best job in the world, but maybe your family member is sick, and all of a sudden, your focus will shift to that. So there's always little things you can do. And that's the power of coaching, in my opinion, is no matter where you are, you start exactly there, and you're already enough with that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel entirely. It's literally just, what little things can you do today that get you a little bit closer to an ideal state or goal that you have.
I really like it. So to recap, you mentioned asking questions. I think you also reflected on like connecting with small moments in your day and in your week, using some tools like this wheel that you mentioned. So yeah, very very interesting and very helpful. Beer, would you like to add something to the conversation? What does purpose mean to you in your life? Or
I have two things to say. One, that I have goosebumps. I love talking about career purpose. I believe that we could speak about this for hours and hours. I started thinking about the actual purpose 1 or 2 years ago, and I don't remember how was life without thinking about purpose. I believe it's so important that each person devotes some time for first self-reflection, and then to think about what do we want to live in life. I mean, if we are not here tomorrow, what we want people to feel about us, what are we giving to them when we are not here? So I feel like I have been smiling during this career purpose section, because I love this topic, and I find Mario's insights very, very interesting. So thank you so much again for being here and for sharing your insights and your knowledge with all of us.
Thank you, Rina. I feel the same way. Thank you.
Now, I mean, I know that we could speak about this for a lot of time, but maybe we can shift gears and talk about other topic, which is adapting to the rapid technological changes that are currently reshaping our industries. Something that we all know is that the only constant that we have in life is change. We are aware of that, but we also know that change can often bring anxiety, sometimes a lot of anxiety. So I believe it's important to address how can we manage it effectively. So now that you're here, I wanted to ask you, how do you personally cope with the fast pace of technological change in our industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. Probably cope with it sometimes better, sometimes worse. I think it's, first of all, everyone talks about it, right? Like AI is everywhere in our industry and beyond. So I think it's the first thing that I would do is recognize and accepting. I mean, it's a little bit like accepting any change, like a loss that we talked about. It's almost going through stages of grief. If something is changing and there is a loss, associated with that, and I guess it's important to recognize, give yourself time to adjust and adapt to it, but understand that it is happening, and there's nothing you can do. If, for example, as a company, as a personal and entrepreneur, a translator, if you're against that change, or if you're saying I don't want to adjust to it, there's nothing you can do because it is happening, if you like it or not. So the reality is, let's try to find ways to adapt to it, by staying true to yourself, without, oh, I need to leave everything that I was before, completely change who I am. So I think, yeah, this is the first thing I would say is, recognize that it's happening, focus on the positives. What are the positives that come with it? Positivity is something that we find in coaching. I have also internal colleagues at Persona that I talked about, and they told me that I have this optimism, which is, again, very humbling. And I find it, sometimes I don't recognize that myself, but when I talk to others, I do actually give advice in terms of be positive and, have that optimism. So what can you do? What is going really well? Like, what is this change bringing? If you're running a business, all of a sudden you have ChatGPT, you have other things that can help you do things better, right? So there is also positives, not just the negatives. Everything is changing, and that's bad. Be kind to yourself, talking to others. What is their experience? I mean, join a networking group or join other groups where you can share your perspective about how are you adjusting to it. What can you learn from it? So these are little things that I would start with.
Amazing, and that is related to my second question. I wanted to ask you what strategies can help us manage the uncertainty and anxiety that often comes with the constant innovation. You have mentioned some. I believe that we can also mention stay flexible, prioritize, stay informed, and I really like that you mentioned the topic of having a positive mindset, because I believe that helps us a lot when we don't know what is going to happen next. What other strategies do you generally use?
Yeah, I think it's a thin line as well between when we talk about therapy or, sort of these psychological conversations. Coaching, mentoring, therapy are often mentioned in the same sentence when they're a little bit different. So I think this positivity can also shift into the toxic. So I also want to be very mindful of, if I have a client, I wouldn't say, oh, you have to be positive and, it's flowers and rainbows and sunshines. Like, it is very important to reflect and say, this is really bad. Something bad is happening. Either you don't get, well, I don't know, you're a translator, you don't get any clients anymore, or you're being undercut in your pricing everywhere. It is really, really important to recognize that. Okay, what can you do? Coaching is all about that forward momentum, right? So yeah, let's acknowledge this is happening. What can you do? Write down 3 things you can do right now. Tonight you can go to bed and say, what are 3 things that went really well today? These are little tools we call. They're not necessarily coaching. They're just mindfulness or, positive psychology tools that I also learned about. I did it last night because I've been having a bit of a rough time. So I'm going, what is actually working well? What are 3 things I'm grateful for today? These are the little, your brain is very good at sticking to all of this negative, all of the shit that is happening. So if you focus on the little small things, the positive wins or small wins, I think that can help. And in terms of that, strategies are just to make a plan. You need to have some sort of action plan. This is a big part in coaching, is coming up with a plan and goals, and then how would you reach those goals, break them then down into smaller milestones that you can reach. So that's another thing I would say is important, to have some sort of plan, how to get yourself out of the situation after the initial shit, this is really hitting the fan, what can I do? Because wallowing in this sort of negativity isn't going to help you. You have to move forward with small steps.
Definitely. I believe that I will start the practice of writing before going to sleep today. I will let you know what happens next.
Please do.
And one other question, how crucial is for you the continuous learning in successfully navigating these changes?
I think this is the most crucial element, and I'm seeing that with people who come to me and say things are changing and I don't know what I want to do anymore, or I cannot afford being a translator in our industry. Once again, that example of what can I do to literally develop myself, upskill, reskill. What skills as a translator or as a writer can I use, and pursue another role that is more in demand, something that people want to pay for, whereas translation might be something that is more and more automated, right? So again, I think that's one of the things that I would say to start with. But yeah.
Awesome.
Emi? Yeah, I'd like to add something, because I think navigating changes is a different experience according to in the context of our works, right? It's very different on the position that you play in your team. And I'm thinking from a leadership perspective, we have a lot of responsibility during changes and to bring the right mindset into our teammates and the right tools. What advice can you give to leaders, especially with these changes and AI? There was this huge crisis in mindset, and now things are getting better and well organized and plans with. But what can you say to leaders?
Yeah, I think also executive coaching is another area that is hugely popular, and a lot of people get a coach or a mentor for that reason, because executives and leaders, they're being thrown into these positions sometimes with no training, or oftentimes the companies look into these people and they haven't done this before. So I think it's also to just always rely on each other, networking. These are some things. Again, for me, LinkedIn is one of the things that I use a lot. Everything that I've done in terms of success in my career has probably come from that, reaching out to people, if I'm a leader or not, talk to other people who have maybe gone through the same, even just asking someone who you might think at a similar company has gone through, asking them for 10 minutes, do you want to have coffee? And we just have a quick chat, something that may have worked for them. And also, like looking to a coach, looking to a mentor, because in executive coaching, it is a field that's hugely growing. And developing our skills, leadership, communication, empathy, having patience with your team, being kind, those are going to be more and more needed, as we move forward. So I think those are some of the things I would say as well.
Yeah. And again, you mentioned community, like leveraging the people in our networks. And I'm reflecting on, we met on a community event, like within our industry. How do you think this impacts on people, like networking and community?
I think that's a big one. Yeah, 100%. That's what I love about our industry. So if I ever transition to something else, I think I will hugely miss that element. I think community is hugely important. It's literally that network, right? So giving back, getting something out of it, but also giving value. It starts with giving value, and then that's the thing that we might do wrong. Like I might be the same. I'm doing this coaching thing. I'm so focused on getting clients that I might forget this isn't what it's about. It's about connecting and sharing my experiences and giving value first, and then it might come back. And again, mentioning Lockworld or Lock Lunch, that's how we met. That's how I met some of my best friends that I have here in Dublin, is literally because I knew I was moving here. I was looking, is there already a Lock Lunch in Dublin? It's a big tech spot. So right there, I thought there was one, and there was, but it had kind of died down. So then I got involved, and now I'm the ambassador for Lock Lunch. I wanted to revitalize the community or revive, and that's what we did. And now we have kind of more active participants again, and some of the people I'm running this with are going to be at my wedding, hopefully. I mean, they're my close friends. So it's community can give you so much, and I think no one can do it alone. That's the other thing. Is I posted about this week. It was about asking for help. People have this, same for me. I can be embarrassed asking for help, but at the same time, it's no one can do it alone. And a network is like a huge pool of value, and it's an untapped potential. If you don't use it, that's your own fault, really. So again, community is probably the most crucial element of all of this.
That's great. And do you think millennials as a generation have like any particular ways of acting with change?
I guess, yeah. I mean, sometimes we get compared to our parents' generation or grandparents. They went to the war, like in Germany. That's always the topic in Europe, is the war. My grandpa was in the war, and then our generation is kind of too soft. But if you really think about it, the stuff that we've been through, millennials, we're quite resilient already. Like it's a very resilient generation. If you look through financial crisis, pandemic, those alone, like those two together, they were hugely impacted us. And you always come through it stronger. Like you come out the other end much stronger. So again, we're more resilient that way. We're adapting to change a lot more quickly. Technology is virtually changing overnight. Tomorrow you might get a new iPhone and your brain is already adapted to quickly, oh, this is the buttons I need to press, right? So our brains are also adapting to that very, very quickly, I think. So I guess that's one advantage, that everything is evolving so quickly. The attention span, even going on social media, like you post now and in 10 seconds it's gone. So it's adapting to that as it happens, because we're shaping it with the trend as it happens. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and you mentioned the concept of soft generation, and usually like younger people are called like the crystal generation, and there's a myth around that, and saying that younger people don't like to work that much. Of course, I 100% disagree on that, and I believe that younger people, it's not that we don't like to work as much as our parents, for example, but we have different things that we value within our jobs, like respect on our personal time, boundaries, empowerment, and trust to make some mistakes and keep learning and evolving. And I think this is very important. And I would like to know from your experience, how can we do more things that we love? Because if we have the right balance within our work and our life, we could do more things of what we love. How can we do it?
Yeah, work-life balance, I guess, is the key word here. And again, it's a thin line between finding what you love in your career and just looking at your career as something like paying the bills. Maybe that's one way of looking at it. Not everyone will get up in the morning and say, today I am affecting millions of lives. And maybe you just look at it. And this is, again, it comes with reframing, reshifting your focus and saying, my job is my job and I enjoy it and I get on, I have nice colleagues. I don't hate my boss. I don't hate our company values. So I just go and do that. To then have the time and the freedom after 5 or 4 p.m., whatever, to do what else you want to do then. So work-life balance is the main. I posted a poll on LinkedIn, and it's one of the main topics that people really struggle with, is the stress, the lack of work-life balance, is working ourselves into the ground. I guess our generation is better at saying stop and putting in these mechanisms, going for a walk, unplugging. I don't have my phone, for example. I don't have my phone with me when I sleep. It's in flight mode, it's in the other room, and it's very hard to do, and I don't always do it, but that's the rule of thumb, is after 10, 11 p.m. I switch my phone into flight mode, and then the next morning it might be the first thing.
How do you wake up?
I got this like really old school, like it is almost old school from our generation, just a radio alarm clock. And it has a snooze button. That's the problem. It has a big snooze button, and I hit that button several times in the morning, but at least I don't. And then I might go and get a glass of water, and then I grab my phone. But at least it's not usually the first thing that is in my face when I wake up. And that helps, because again, we talk about the impact of social media, and I'm noticing it myself. So to me, it's very important to find the balance. And it's things you can practice, right? I find it very hard to disconnect from work, so I have to put my laptop, I close it, and it's in this room, and I don't go back in here. That's something that you can learn, and if your organization, your manager supports you in that, that's all the better. So I think also millennials, we are more prone to, we want someone like that. We want a company that cares about that. So we're gravitating towards a company that gives us that work-life balance, or at least encourages us to take breaks, switch off, take enough holidays, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think that nowadays we have access to our job in our cell phone, and that can be dangerous because I have these personal settings that, for example, after 8 p.m., I don't have any notifications from my working apps. So otherwise, it's like you still see the messages, and it's like, oh, I need to attend this, and this is not healthy for us because otherwise we cannot disconnect from work.
Yeah. I guess
It can be
another thing I guess another thing I wanted to mention, another tool that I also wrote about, and it's very, very common, is called Ikigai. It's a Japanese concept. It's often very misunderstood, but it's a Western. So this is our Western understanding of what it is. When I don't want to take away from the origin, and the original might be a little bit different. There is a worksheet that is a Western interpretation of Ikigai that sort of is looking at your purpose, your why. Simon Sinek calls it the why. Your reason for being is roughly what it translates to. And you asked me what we can do to spend more on things we love. It starts with exploring what those things are. So Ikigai has a way of saying 4 different areas that you plot against. Is things that you love, things that you enjoy, things you're good at, and things that the world needs. And if you find where they all overlap, then you may have found your reason for being. You may have found your why. But at the same time, that puts a lot of pressure on you. It's again, I have to go on this big quest. But even writing down 10 things, it could be 10 things today, like tonight, you can all take a pen and you say, this is 10 things I really enjoy doing. And it has nothing to do with your work, but then tomorrow you might realize, I don't know, I enjoy going for a hike, so maybe tomorrow you take your meeting and you go on for a walk. Or maybe you have this idea to plan a hike with your coworkers, I don't know. But our life is very holistic. So things can spill into each other when we think about it that way. So doing more things you love is always a way to improve your career, and vice versa. That's another tool that I wanted to mention.
That's fantastic, and that made me think that a lot of time we don't know what we like. Like if we never did this exercise, or maybe we're a little bit disconnected from ourselves,
Yeah.
maybe you don't know what you like, and that is a risk.
Yeah, I think again, like millennials working, sometimes some of my clients, I notice these are people that for years, it could be someone like I was talking to a young mother, and she's had her kid, and now for the first time she doesn't know, what is my role when I'm not a mother? What is my role? What do I want? Like, who am I? Literally, those were the words on the coaching session was, who am I? So I'm thinking this is such a huge thing that exploring who you are and what you want. And it is very difficult, but it is worth exploring, because again, like we have a short life if you put it in perspective. So it is important to spend time on reflecting on that.
Absolutely. And when we think of work-life balance, it's easy to know what we want from companies, but sometimes we are asking for things for our work-life balance, but we are not taking care of our life aspect. So yeah, I think it's very, very important. And I wanted to mention that for the audience, you heard that Mario has a lot of very cool LinkedIn content. He mentioned a lot of posts with all the topics that we are discussing. So I encourage you to visit his LinkedIn profile. There's a lot of content. And I think also, Mario, you have a link to book meetings, right?
Yeah, that's it. I think I have to update that logo, but I also play with the website. It's sometimes we get so excited about having a website. I don't think it's as important as, LinkedIn is my way of doing it. And, looking at my LinkedIn page, hopefully everything is there to book a session. This is a free call that you can book. I mostly have evening availability for me here in Dublin, but then it can also be flexible. So this is just a way of looking at how I can help. Where do you stand with your career right now? Where are you going wrong? I mean, if you if you're not working a job you love, maybe we can change it together. That's kind of what I would say.
That's fantastic. Well, I
Amazing.
think we need to close it for today, but this has been very insightful. Thank you so much, dears. Thank you so much, Mario. And well, thank you for everyone in the audience. I hope you have a fantastic day and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mario.
so
Thank you,
much.
Emmy.
Thank you for
Okay.
having
Have a
me.
great day ahead. Thank you.
Take
Bye
care, everyone.
bye.